Hello, everyone. I'm sorry for this month without episodes, but with this super guest, I hope to apologize to all of you. Hello, Facundo. How are you?
Hi, Mateo. How are you? All good, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. So I've met you for the first time on LinkedIn, and your CV impressed me a lot. Uh, you coach in a lot of different countries, so you are the perfect guest for this episode, for this podcast. I'm really happy to have you here. And
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thanks for having me in the podcast. I'm so excited for it.
so let's begin from the beginning of your journey. You started coaching in Italy, in Posillipo, right?
Yeah, I have. I grew up in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I play water polo in River Plate, which is a pretty big football club there, and it's also quite strong for the on a small on a different scale for water polo level in our country. And then I have studied physical education, teacher training college, and sports science. And after finishing university, I just wanted to do an experience abroad overseas because I was always super curious about traveling and just getting to know the world and understand how everything works overseas and things like that. And I was like, back in the days, it was pretty popular to go to New Zealand or Australia to do some sort of like work and holidays experience. But then, because a friend of mine used to live in Italy, he highly recommended me to go there, and I absolutely fell in love with the country. Um, yeah, I ended up staying for many years there. At the beginning, I was for 4 years in the north, in Turin, and
Okay.
then in Naples, in the south. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty different cities. And so you start coaching in Posillipo. So you didn't coach for a while after your graduation in physical education.
I was always by the time I finished high school, like 18, 19 years old. Meanwhile, I was playing. I was always coaching in the side, like most of us do, just for fun or to
Yeah.
collaborate a little bit with the club and stuff to do in the first experiences, and just trying to take advantage of all I was learning at university, trying to apply those things into the practical field. So I was always coaching. In the meantime, I was playing on the side, but it really became my full-time job later in life, like around 27, 28 years old, when I realized I couldn't go any further in terms of a water polo player career because I was just not good enough to play at high international level. Although I have passion for the sport and I really enjoyed every single session, so I thought I definitely want to stay involved from a different perspective. So yeah, that's how everything started. I mean, I was always involved and into coaching at the same time, but it was up until late 20s where I really became some sort of full-time coach, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. And so the first job as a full time coach was in Posillipo, right?
I started yes, actually, technically, before Posilipo, I was coaching. I built a program at the University of Buenos Aires where I've studied. It's a
Okay.
particular university because our system in Argentina does not have a lot of sports at university, like pretty much like Italy. It's not like the US.
Yeah.
But my university particularly was a special university where there's a lot of sports even now. So I decided to start a project where we have a really like a wonderful like swimming pool, but we didn't have water polo. So I actually studied there, and I did that for 4 years um, with men and women, and we ended up playing in Division 2 on the male side and Division 1 on the women's side. So that was probably the beginning, and then that's where I went to Posilipo. Yeah.
And uh, what was the situation of water polo in Argentina in like 10 years ago? How much time? Like, yes, 10
Yeah.
years ago compared to now? And uh, how popular is the sport in the country?
All right, the sport is pretty small, to be completely honest with you, especially on the women's side. We used to have like four teams in the whole country, only 50, 60 players in total, all over, like in all the age groups and stuff. So it was pretty much like I wouldn't say starting because there were people playing already back in the late 80s and early 90s on the women's side. But yes, it grew up a lot in terms of numbers recently in the last 10 years compared to where we started. On the men's side, instead, it's always been a lot of tradition. Some clubs have started like more than a century ago, and there's always been lots of water polo compared to the women's side, but obviously still nothing compared to many European countries like Italy, Serbia, Spain, Greece, and all those countries. But yes, on the men's side, there are probably like three divisions. So we're like kind of, yeah, this is still like it's still not a massive number of pool of players to take from, but at least the situation was way better and bigger than compared to the women's side, if that makes sense.
Okay, and what do you think will be the next step of the movement? Like, is there a problem of structures, pools, or just of like marketing?
Yeah, look, we deal with different challenges there. Probably number one of the main ones is we lack of. We have so many swimming pools, but for some reason in Argentina, 90% of the swimming pools are shallow and are extremely narrow. Like the standard swimming pool in the country is like 25 per 10.
Okay,
So there is it's still even now lots of teams training and playing in such a narrow field that completely changes the whole dynamic of the game.
yes.
Uh, so that's probably one of the biggest challenges we have. Although it's been getting better and better over the years, this is still a long way to go. Uh, and then on second term, probably it's been a great improvement so far on that field as well, but still a long way to go in terms of uh, promotion and kind of advertise and try to make the sport more accessible to everyone. So basically, like the lack of numbers, especially on the young age groups, on the Haba Waba under 10, under 12, on those
Yes.
age groups are key for the future development. Although, however, I mean, I must admit that it's been a great, it's been a massive shift compared to what we used to be, where how everything started like 20 or 15, 10 years ago compared to where we are now. Still a long way to go, many things to do, but it's so much better if you put things in perspective. I think water polo in Argentina is been definitely growing recently. Yeah.
And do you think the bottleneck after the high school is a big bottleneck, like in a lot of country, uh, like in Argentina? I assume that you don't have professional teams, and so many players after high school, when they have to choose between working or studying and playing water polo as a professional but without a salary, they decide to like just stop with water polo. Do you think that's the biggest problem of Argentina, or do you stay with the pool situation and other?
Yeah, look, probably there is a drop, and there is a lot of people like getting out of the sport because of the reason you just mentioned. But because in the last couple of years I've been doing experiences overseas in other countries, especially like British Commonwealth countries, like ex-British colonies, and countries with a
Yes.
completely different system, I would say probably in comparison, it's not that bad. I mean, there's a lot of culture of Argentina still, like people just staying playing the sport, even like so many like bigger sport, more popular sports such as field hockey or handball or volleyball, where people still stick to the club, play and train, even though they're not professional either. So I think the culture, the club culture in Argentina, and the social element of it makes a huge part, or like plays a huge part on that. So yes, we do lose kids when it comes to university. But I would say most of the people stay involved with the sport and somehow manage to, maybe not to perform at a higher level or just to train every day or twice a day, but are still involved with the sport and training probably two times a week, 3 times a week. which is probably not even close to an international level or high level competition, but at least people are still attached and enjoying water polo, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, okay, I understand. And do you think another reason of the situation in Argentina can be the like long distance between Argentina and uh, Europe? Like, if you can't train with the best countries, you can't reach that level. And so, do you think that's a problem, and how can be solved for the national team in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that being geographically in a better place will help a lot, because obviously there's no secrets on it. The more you train in terms of quantity and quality, and the more exposure your players and your coaches and your referees get, the better. Especially um, when you just put them on a stage against common trainings and friendly games and competitions and stuff with top countries and powerhouses nations. But on the other hand, personally, I believe there is so much we can do still, rather than kind of, okay, yes, these are the things that we cannot allow ourselves, so we cannot afford to go to Europe twice a week, twice a year, or whatever, or things like that. Instead of focusing on just on things that we cannot do, rather than, okay, let's see what we can do instead. And I believe there are so many things that we can do better as coaches first, right? So to increase the level of our players and the level of internal competition. Yes, definitely that's a challenge. But I personally do not like much to put the accent into the things that we cannot control are really hard to change. Like the yes, the size of the pools, or the amount of pools we have, or geographical distance. Okay, this is those are our constraints and our limits. We better just deal with it, right? And try to do the best we can, what considering the circumstances and the strengths and weaknesses we have as programs, which is things still think that we can do so many things in a different way every day, right? So that's part of the kind of exercise, I believe.
And I've seen in your CV that you worked for 6 months in the United States as a coach, and you
Yeah.
also collaborate in camps and clinics. And what do you think is the situation in the continent in America, and in particular in the United States? Because I think that after the bronze at the Olympic, and with the next Olympics in Los Angeles, they are growing really fast. It's maybe the most interesting place for like growing water polo in this moment. What do you think about it?
Oh, it's amazing. I absolutely love the experience. First of all, I need to like always been super grateful, and I just take advantage of the situation here just to mention him and express my gratitude towards him. Greg Enlow is used to be part of the senior men U.S. national team, and he was the one giving me the opportunity to go and coach with him at his club called Kings Elite in California. And I've experienced such a different like kind of um, yeah, atmosphere, structure, system, everything. I believe it's insane. It's just insane in terms of numbers. The numbers they have. Look, if you think about that, I was in a small town, and all five high schools there, they all have wonderful facilities, and all of them have water polo. And yes, I know the fact that California is not the typical representation of the US, and it's not everywhere like that. But I still believe that there are some other regions in the states. I mean, all over in different states, but that been growing really really fast, and it's getting more and more popular, and it's really exciting for this for the future of the sport. Definitely would be something really really cool for to happen, just to start getting more and more visibility and development with such a huge market. I got the opportunity to get to know some US coaches and even some American Argentinian players that play for our national team, but are actually they were born and raised in the States. And I know they're doing some really cool stuff in Texas, in Dallas, in Fresno, like in different areas. I know also in Florida the sport is growing, so it's pretty exciting.
Do you think this is a good a good a good situation for the the nearby country like Canada also is growing, Brazil is growing, and maybe this can make other countries growing like Argentina.
Yeah, we definitely hope so. I personally believe there is not a possibility you have no chance to develop and grow by yourself. So I personally believe the better our neighbor countries, kind of, or countries around like Brazil, the stronger they get, the better for us. So we can, like lift, follow up, and lift the level of the whole region. Obviously, we're still so far away from the US and Canada, both geographically and water polo wise. Um, but I still think it's good news for all of us involved into our sport to hear that in some areas the sport is growing, right?
Yes, yes, we hope so. And so, coming back to your journey, so in Posillipo you start coaching and you studied in the you did the fin courses to become an Italian water polo coach. How do you what do you think about those courses and wh- what has been your experience in Italy as a coach?
So I've always been extremely grateful to Italy because basically 90% of what I've learned and what I know about the sport is being learned uh, by the Italian, not only the Italian coaches, but lots of people that have been extremely, really, really helpful to me. I I don't want to mention one or two because they've been like many coaches, super top experienced coaches that have been extremely. It would be unfair with them if I forget a few. But actually, I've been really, really lucky to meet such an amazing coaches and human beings in Italy. Not only Italian ones that were coaching in Italy at the time, or even just some like really good Italian coaches which I have who I have a good, really good relationship with. That they taught me a lot, and I was pretty young, and I've learned so much from them. And now, after such a long journey, I'm doing like some courses in the US or water aquatics. By the time FINA School for Coaches, I've done like five of them with the Spanish national team coaches and Catalonia and so on. I personally believe the Italian Federation coaching course was great. Even now, I believe it's one of the best water polo schools in the world. And I personally reckon it was really, really useful at the time for my future career. I highly recommend to anyone to do those. Um, Personally, that was my personal experience. Was like really, really positive. Both, not only like particularly through the courses, but also the possibility to exchange opinions, ideas, discuss, and learn about. I went to watch so many trainings in so many clubs just for the sake of water polo, just to learn and to take notes. And I've been really lucky that I came across meeting people that were really humble and not selfish and with no secrecy. I come to my training, come to the games, and open me the doors to just learn so much. Because it was obviously such a big shock coming from Argentina, and then being in Italy is like a completely different level. I consider that probably our at that time our Division 1 in Argentina was probably similar to a Serie B, like a Division
Okay,
3 in
three.
Italy, pretty much. So yeah, it's been great, and I personally think that it's such a great water polo school. So many top coaches with a lot of knowledge and experience and expertise that it's really really cool. Yeah.
And how hard is it, in your opinion, to make coaching water polo your full time job nowadays? And uh, can you give us some suggestion uh, how can you how could you do what you did?
Look, it's always been my dream. I didn't know if we would be able to succeed. At some stage, I thought, okay, realistically, probably less than 10% or what else. Somehow, like, not many coaches has the privilege of being able to do what they love, and you gotta be ready to give up lots of things. And I'm fully aware of that. Like weekends, public holidays, or probably earning less money that you would do in a regular job outside water polo sometimes. Like, look, there are so many factors to consider, but I always knew that I really wanted to at least to try, and I've tried really, really hard. And I think the secret was like, not the secret, but the main reason was I always been super passionate about it, and I try my best. And then sometimes, okay, it might work, it might not, but I think you have like way higher chances and opportunity if you're super focused, and that's what you really, really want to do in life. So probably I don't even know if I'm in a position to do any piece of advice to anyone. I keep learning every day and just asking questions to myself and self-reflecting about so many things. But probably if I had to say something to myself 20 years ago, it would be like kind of believe in yourself and just keep looking for those opportunities. Like kind of don't be scared to try things, and just put the hours. It might sound redundant or obvious, but it's just at the end of the day, it comes with hard work. And obviously, you have to get the chances and the opportunities, but you also have to be ready to take
The
those
opportunity.
risks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Completely agree. And I want to ask you about your experience in Zimbabwe because I've seen you work there, and I'm too curious about it. And how did it happen, and how did it go?
Oh yeah, look, that happened almost by chance. I made really good friends with the South African national team head coach at the time on the youth team. Luke Manthe is still a great friend of mine, and he always invited me to this camp they organize every year. They've been doing that for many years with bringing coaches from all over the world. But I couldn't because of my commitment with the Argentina national team. And there was sometimes it's just a moment in time, right? I was that year. I was like already communicated that would be my last year in the Argentina national team. And I still remember nowadays. I was in the juniors Pan American Games in Indianapolis in the US with Argentina, just kind of saying goodbye. It was like a little bit of a bittersweet because I was happy and excited about the future, but at the same time, kind of a little bit sad after leaving the national team. And I got this phone call from him. He's like, "Hey, do you want to come to Africa for this camp?" He's like, and clearly I said immediately yes. And it's like, regardless of anything else, it was not about money. It was not about, for me, it was more curiosity and understanding. Just I've never been to Africa, and I love traveling. So, and I have the time and the possibility now because I'm just saying goodbye to the national team. So why not? And I went there, experienced the camp for 2 weeks with so many coaches from all different countries. It was a great experience. And after those 2 weeks, one of the schools there approached me and said, "Hey, would you be keen to stay? We definitely need coaches here. And would you like to stay and coach here for longer?" I ended up staying like a year and a half, like for a few terms. And it's been an incredible experience. I absolutely loved it. Even though, like, look, after that, I keep coming back. I came back for 4 summers in a row. So every summer, normally in term one, I go coach back in Africa. Just I love the kids I grew up with as a coach, and it's been a really, really good experience. I absolutely love it.
Cool, cool, really cool. And so I want to ask you a question about the culture in water polo because you met a lot of different countries, and so I want to ask you what's the biggest cultural difference in terms of water polo in every foreign country you worked in, like which is the most different thing in terms of water polo in Zimbabwe, in New Zealand, or in Argentina, in Italy, in the USA.
Look, I believe it's quite hard to explain, but I personally believe because when we coach, we deal with human beings, which is leading and managing people, and ultimately people. have certain things in common all over the world, and we all have emotions and feelings and go through frustration and love and passion and many things. But the biggest challenge for me is not only coaching a different language, but to coach in a different culture. It's probably is key to be able to adapt. And sometimes you have to be ready to, I wouldn't say give up, just be flexible enough not to lose your personal touch or the things the current group of things and beliefs and ideas and goals and stuff, but being able to merge them into a new system, a new culture where everything is completely different. And sometimes you will struggle to understand, but there is a reason why. Um, you cannot expect to change that whole environment. So you rather be able to try to be flexible and understand how everything works and try to find a way to smoothly um, bring some things to the table, but at the same time without trying to alterate the whole um, atmosphere. So yeah, I believe that's quite challenging, but very very interesting. That was one of the things that I love the most about it. It's just I personally believe that I've learned heaps as a person, but also as a water polo coach, coaching in all these different places, regardless on what the level is, because obviously the level is completely different from a team in California to a team in Argentina or Zimbabwe. Um, but ultimately, it's really nice when you work in an environment where people love what they're doing. Normally, people involved into our sports that are not like professional sports, they really enjoy what they're doing, and that makes a massive difference because I feel like everyone is really have a special energy because they're doing something that they really fulfill their lives. Um, so yeah, I believe that's something really, really, really cool, and I really enjoy that. However, it's true that you have to be ready to adapt and to understand how things work and try to find your way to deliver certain messages or to change small things, but slowly building certain things and trying to find a compromise in order to be able to be efficient on your on successful on your journey. Because probably if I would be like kind of okay, yes, I want to do this and this, the same thing that I used to do, I don't know, in Posilipo, in Buenos Aires, it probably wouldn't work straight away. So find that way is a little bit of an art, and it's very very interesting.
Cool, cool. So the last adventure that you embarked is the head coach of the national team of New Zealand, the under 20 girls, and I've seen that you both work as a head coach of Atlantic City and for the national team. And I want to ask you, what's the water polo situation in New Zealand, and uh, do you feel these this different culture that we can see like in All Blacks in rugby or other New Zealand teams, national teams?
Yeah, look, again, the opportunity came to me 3 years ago through a very good friend of mine who I consider is one of the best coaches in the world at the moment. She's definitely like insane. I've seen from the outside the level that New Zealand got in the last 6, 10 years. From when I was in Argentina, I've seen them improving like so much and so fast. And I thought definitely there's something going on in this program I would love to be part of. And then Angie Winstanley, who's the head coach of the senior women's program, and pretty much the responsible for building, in my opinion, leading that massive improvement in the last couple of years on the women's side, on the women's water polo program in New Zealand. She gave me the opportunity to come and work with her. So we're working together. I joined the national team program in different roles, but always kind of supporting and trying to help on New Zealand water polo, and then as a head coach of Atlantis, who was like who's a club that has been founded by her. And it's been a great experience so far. I've been here for this is my third year, and absolutely loved it. Like the work wise, it's such an amazing experience. But it's been very interesting because my first year I was okay. I have to like understand how everything works. And again, as I was saying, so many things are completely different, and you gotta be ready to adapt. Once you understand how everything works and how you can impact more in the game, and even like from a coaching perspective, maximize the potential and try to get out the best of every single athlete. It's been great. It's been amazing, and definitely there is a big element of passion and love for the sport here, and it's such a sporty nation. Like everyone do at least like two sports. There's like it's such a completely different world in terms of sports are linked to a school, which has some challenges at the same time in one way, but on the other hand, everyone is pretty like super athletic and kind of having this mentality of of I don't know how to put that, but how to say that. But it's very different compared to Argentina, where just go to the club and practice one sport.
Like in Italy.
Yeah, exactly, like Europe or South
Yeah.
America. So here, all my kids that play water polo in Atlantis, all of them pretty much do at least one or two other sports on the side. Yeah, it's very very interesting, and look, I believe there's a massive potential here. We're working on a journey to try to. Our dream and ultimate goal is to make the Olympics, and that would be obviously a dream for all these athletes and coaches that have been working in the community, putting so much effort into it for many years. And I certainly believe it's going to happen, and we're working so hard for it. Yeah.
I hope so. And so you mentioned the fact that the school is involved in the sportive education of kids and girls. And do you think is better a model like the New Zealand United States model, where the school is completely involved in the sport, or do you think it's better the Italian one with clubs, and if you want to play water polo, you go to the club and play water polo?
Look, personally, I don't think I have the answer for that because I believe there are pros and cons on both. I'm personally not a big fan of just only one system or one way to do things. I believe it depends. It's situational. It depends on the context and so many realities. And sometimes for me, it's way more important the way you applicate something, right? The way you run it, the way you do it, rather than the system itself. Either go one way or the other one is the main difference ultimately for me is that kind of, okay, how are we applying certain strategies or models or concepts or ideas to a certain to a particular scenario or reality. So probably in terms of numbers and in terms of making the sport more like kind of popular and definitely probably the fact that it's linked to school or university helps a lot for sure. Because I wouldn't say it's compulsory, but it's there, right? The kids, they go to school, and as a consequence of that, at least they get the opportunity to try water polo, to know what is it about. So definitely in terms of numbers and popularity and development, like probably I would say yes, that's a better model. On the other hand, they have some challenges such as, kind of this idea of, okay, but it's not the same because you have certain constraints and limits. With at a private club, between commas, basically you have your own autonomy, and you can decide certain things. If you train like X amount of times, X amount of times a week for X amount of sessions, X amount of time, and this way and this other way. I mean, there are less rules, if that makes sense, and that will probably lead into more freedom to be able to pretty much take the road you consider is better for you. That you have a little bit more of autonomy, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, where at the school level, ultimately it's still like a school rules that you're not ultimately making the last decision. Even if you are the head of a sport or the head of water polo, it's still not the same in a club where there's no one else above you, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. I think that it's really difficult the like uh, the the relationship between the sport and the education, like the schools and the university, because in my experience, like in Italy, if you want to be to play sport at a certain level, you have to sacrifice a lot in terms of education, in terms of school and also university. And so I do think that mm, maybe you're right. There is no a better model. There is the application that has to be done well. But I do think that the real point is you have to like make cohabit the two, the sport and the education, because like in Italy, if you want to be a man of sport, you have to sacrifice too much the studies, and so it's not fair. And I hope we 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 will like solve this problem. But I think that no one has the answer for this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another big advantage of having the two of them working together. Obviously, being a student athlete is always hard, but it's been way easier when the school or the university supports you and they're
Yeah,
working together, right? It's definitely easier compared to our countries and our systems. That's another massive advantage of trying to like work together. Um, so definitely on that, but I still believe that there are many ways to make that possible without necessarily playing a sports at university. There are like different
yeah,
ways or different like yeah alternatives to try make it possible, accessible for top elite players to study, not juggling so many things at the same time, but without like finding a compromise again. I
yeah,
personally believe a lot on that, but some people like will disagree with me, and it's totally fine. Everyone has a different opinion on this. Like, um, but definitely that's another big point where I would say yes. And normally people go about yeah because you cannot make a lot of money on our sport. Like for me, it's not even about that. It's like even if would be able to earn the same amount of money that football players makes, I think it's important for us to have a holistic view in life, to study, to learn other things. To
yeah,
for 4 or 5 different reasons. I wouldn't put that only because of your future, only because of the money. It's also because of that, but there are also some other reasons why I would highly recommend any young athlete or young person to do sports, and any young person that do sports to study, and try to make the most of both. And I personally believe that it's not true that you have to do one or the other. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's challenging, but it's feasible. There are so many examples of people that manage to do both in both systems as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay, last question about New Zealand. How big is the sport actually in the country? How many divisions in for both men and female, uh, like senior teams, and how big is in terms of like young young boys and girls?
Look, compared to Europe, probably smaller numbers. Compared to Argentina, at least like bigger numbers. I would say I don't want to give wrong numbers, and probably if some people like listen to this podcast in New Zealand will like kind of say, "Hey, that's not exactly like that." So pretty much, like approximately, I can give you like an idea, right? We have probably 10 to 15 clubs in total in the country
Okay.
between men and women. Probably 6 or 8 of them are stronger and bigger clubs, but considering also smaller clubs would probably sit on that number, 12, 15 clubs. And definitely normally there are six clubs that are kind of competing in all the age groups, boys, girls, men and women, and always kind of with bigger numbers and solid structures. And then there are some other clubs that only have like only boys or only girls or just a couple of age groups and stuff like a smaller club, right? Probably, yeah, I would say 10 to 15 clubs. But on the other hand, I read an article the other day. There's so many schools playing water polo here, which is very, very interesting. I think there are like 60 or 70 schools
Well,
playing water polo. Yeah, which is really, really, really cool. Really, really cool. Um, I'm not that involved on a school coaching level. I just collaborate a little bit with one of school that is kind of linked to our club. But my main job here is for the club. So I cannot tell you a lot of in detail about the school system. But yes, I know there are like 2 divisions and there are so many schools, and especially at a lower level, like kind of no in terms of no, sorry, don't get me wrong, not lower level, like in each the starting age groups,
okay.
under 10, under
The
12,
10.
under 14, on the ground level, on the ground floor level. So many games, so many tournaments, so many schools participating, like it's called intermediate league or flippable or whatever, especially on the starting point. Lots of kids play water polo, and it's pretty cool. Although it's pretty sad that it's probably like a quite exclusive sport. So lots of private schools, and obviously
Okay.
not many kids have access to private schools, and not many schools have the access to the facility, to the swimming pool. So that's probably one of the points that like kind of makes us get stuck into just growing any further. But I know that the federation and everyone in the community is trying to work towards that direction, um, to try to make it bigger, and have more and more people involved in our sport.
Okay, last question. Do you have any proposals to make water polo more popular globally?
That's a really good one, because actually I think we all complain, or not complain, but um, reflect on the fact that it's what is needed, but no one probably has the real answer, right?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe a piece
so
of it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Just maybe some brainstorming ideas and think about what would be possible too. Um, I'm on that group of people that probably believes that a lot of promotion and visibility will help a lot. I mean, in my opinion, at least, there's so much more water polo in certain areas than people think there is. It's just unknown and unperceived. It's kind of under the radar. For example, in South America, there's water polo in Bolivia, in Ecuador, in Paraguay, in Uruguay, in Peru, Chile, Colombia. It's not just Brazil, or it's not just Brazil and Argentina. Yes, of course, it's small, but there are clubs there. There are schools playing there. There are people training there. There are coaches coaching those countries. Central America, another maybe 8 countries playing water polo consistently. Um, Even for myself, like in Africa, I didn't know the movement in Africa was way bigger than I thought and I expected. So I believe there are many places water polo is being played, and it's been played a lot, but there's just not enough visibility, and we do not know much about it. So that's one of the reasons why I love to just thank you for the invitation again, and I'd love to be part of this kind of projects, because I think this is what we need, like more exposure and visibility, and showing what's going on in different places.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope the best for your role in New Zealand, and I hope you the best of luck for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mateo. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.